Hello, welcome to my Tech Fun. I'm Igor, and in this video I'm installing the Atomstack's extension kit for the laser engraver, which will extend the y-axis from 400 to 850 millimeters. And this kit is sent to me by the Banggood in exchange for a review. Now there are two types on the Banggood, and this one is for S10. Now I don't have Atomstack's S10, but I have a Perger LaserStorm S10, which is basically the Atomstack's S10 rebrand. It even has Attomstack's laser module on it. Now something you have to pay attention if you install this engraving size on the laser engraver. Let's say you want to engrave, I don't know, door or something like that. In that case, pay attention to the engraving time. There are two examples. Let's say we have these two types of the trees, and first both are size 800 by 400 millimeters. If I engrave only the outlines in the black line with the 2000 millimeters per minute, the engraving time will be 13 and let's say 7.5 minutes. But if I do a line-to-line tracing, so I want to have those black leaves with the 10 lines per millimeter, in that case the engraving will be in this case 8.5 and almost 5 hours. Another thing you have to pay attention, when you click on boundary check to see the edges of the engraving, it will start from the origin, or sometimes that's on the current position of the laser module. And pay attention that we have enough space for that boundary check. So here the very useful thing is the limit switches. You click the homing first and then it will move the origin to the corner of the engraver, or you can move by the hand the engraver to the corner, but don't forget to click that's the new origin for the engraving, and only then click the boundary check. Okay, let's see what's in the box. And the box is empty. And this is what I get in the box. So two long alloy extrusions, two timing belts and new cable set. And I thought that this is installation manual, but this is only the instruction how can I extend the y-axis into laser GRBL. Probably they think that this is so simple that we don't need the user manual, but at least you will have this video for it. For the first look, these alloy extrusions are very similar. Only difference I can see here, this hole, and probably this is the hole for this limit switch. I'm starting with removing of the timing belts. Pay attention, don't lose these bolts and T-nuts, because we have to reuse them, since in this kit we don't get any new bolts or nuts. Just in case I will remove the screen so I will not scratch it or something like that. And I am removing the y-axis limit switch. So pay attention, don't lose the bolts, and there is some distance on it. And now removing the old alloy extrusions, only I will prepare the new one in the same position. So this countersunk hose goes from the outside, and here we have the hole for the limit switch. Now carefully removing the X gantry. And now inserting new alloy extrusions, and remember the positions. And I will start with installing this back frame. And the bolts are not too tight yet, or I will tie them only when all four corners are ready. And the last corner, but only two bolts from the side. And now I will check that all four legs are on the desk, and I will tighten all 8 bolts, but diagonally. I don't have this ruler anymore on these alloy extrusions. And now installing the timing belts. The teeth goes down below the wheel around the pulley. and then below the second wheel. Move them to have the equal length on both sides and lock the position with the previously removed T-nuts and bolts. And when you tie the other side, pull it so you have the tension on this timing belt. Same on the other side. First I will tie this side. Now before I tie the other side, I have to pay attention to two things. One, that the timing belt of course has to be tight like on the other side. But also before I do that, I have to pay attention that this is squared with this hollow extrusion. Unfortunately, we don't have a ruler or any other helpers. I just mark here two marks on same distance on 20 centimeters, and I will try to place these wheels on the same spot, and only then I will tie this timing belt. In case that you notice that it is out of the square later, you don't have to remove the timing belts, just lose this set screw and rotate independently this side until it's squared and then tighten it back. And now placing back the limit switch, don't forget we have these sensors here, and the limit switch has to be pressed from this side. I'm placing back these covers for the hollow extrusion. And now replacing the cable because the old cable is not long enough. And I'm removing all cables starting from the laser module, X stepper motor, removing the zip ties, Y-axis stepper motor, X limit switch. And unfortunately the other side is inside this box, so I have to remove it. I have to open it by removing these 4 bolts. It would be good to have some wiring diagram, but I can see this is X-axis, probably stepper motor, and Y-axis stepper motor. On this side we have the red and blue, these are limit switches, and it says probe. And here we have S and plus 12 volts. And same plugs we have on the new cable. And everything is connected. Now I can place back this plate. This is the leg. Connecting the limit switch, Y-axis stepper motor, X limit switch, X stepper motor, and the laser module. And before I do some cable management, I want to check that this is long enough, but don't forget, don't move too quickly because stepper motors can create some current. And this is too short. Well, okay, I could check this before I start with the rewiring. Basically this cable is the same length as the one which was originally with this engraver. So Attomstack, definitely I would suggest you don't send new cable, but it will be much simpler if you just send extenders for these ones. In that case we don't have to mess around the mainboard, because this is basically the hardest part. Just 4 cables has to be extended, stepper motor on Y and X axis, and a cable on the X limit switch, and this one which goes to the laser module. I will contact the Attomstack. I'm just curious how will they react. If they don't send me anything, I will just create these extension cables for these 4 wires. But I will test it now as it is, but the length is now maybe 600 millimeters instead of the 850 millimeters. In laser JBL config I have to set the new Y-axis length, so I don't get the error message if I want to engrave something bigger. I connected all wires, and first I will check the movement in X and Y direction. Let's check the limit switch, so I'll do the homing. So the homing is working, everything is connected, only unfortunately this wire is too short to use the whole 850 millimeters. Actually, I contacted Banggood and Attomstack in the meantime. I'm waiting their answers. But basically, there is one solution which I could use without any longer cable. And if I would move, for example, this mainboard unit or box, let's say here, if this would be my workbench, in that case, this cable would be long enough. Only one cable I should extend, and that is this one for the Y limit switch. Or I can just plug it out, because many engravers actually don't even have the limit switches. Only don't forget, you cannot do the homing in that case. And just for this small testing, I will engrave that tree on this small surface. I already set the focus of the laser. Boundary check. And it's working nice. I have to try this setup too. Only I don't want to drill holes in my desk, so I will place here this part of the wood. And I can carefully test the whole length, but don't forget I pull out the limit switch, so I cannot do the homing. And for the last test, I want to engrave some long text, which will be 600 millimeters long, which I couldn't do with a regular engraver. I already set the focus, and I will engrave on this box. Kit was in this packaging. Only I have to supervise with my hand this cable, because this cannot be final cable management. Boundary check, but I will speed it up. And start with engraving, and this will be 1.5 minutes engraving work. Thank you for watching. If you find this useful, please like and subscribe. Suggestions? And now the conclusions. But if you need a bigger working area for your Attomstack or compatible laser engraver, this is a great solution. As you saw, the mechanic parts work perfectly. Biggest problem I had with the rewiring inside the mainboard, and in my case I had the problem that cables which they sent is the same like the original one, so I cannot use the whole length because it is too short. I contacted the Banggood and Attomstack, but I will publish the video, but their answer I will enter into the description of the video. But even if you have this kind of problem, as you saw in this setup, it can work as it is now, using the whole length of the engraving area. Only I had to unplug the limit switch on the Y-axis, but or I can now extend only one wire, or it can work as it is now, because a lot of engravers don't even have the limit switch. Only don't forget when you click the boundary check that you have enough area for the engraving and it will not hit the frame. To Attomstack, I would suggest don't send completely new longer cables, but send some kind of extension to existing one. Only 4 cables has to be extended, 2 stepper motors, 1 limit switch and a cable for the laser module. And in that case the rewiring will be much easier. We don't have to open the mainboard box. And just one last thought, this is another proof that we reviewers don't always get a specially prepared product for the review videos. If you have some other experience with this, then you know, write me down a few lines in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and happy and safe engraving!